wanted the chance to spear a monster tuna. And for my sins, I got one. You see that blood pouring out of the fish? That means that my shot placement is good, right through its vital organs. And you see how big its belly is? That means that this is not your average doggy. This is a big one, way over 100 pounds, probably closer to 150. And honestly, it's the fish of a lifetime. If you saw my last video, you already know that I lose this fish. But that's not what this story's about. This is only day one of an incredibly fishy 10-day trip around some of the best spots in all of Indonesia. We chartered this ridiculously nice boat with one single goal in mind: to find big tuna, exactly like the one that's on the other end of my line. But after pulling my floats down as if they were nothing, my shooting line broke, and so did my heart. I don't know it yet, but I'm about to spiral into severe depression on what's supposed to be the most epic trip in my entire life. But one of the nice things about liveaboards is when you lose a spear like I just did, it only takes about 30 seconds to run home and get a new one. Quickly rewind about 24 hours. After landing at the airport and filling up an obscene amount of floats with a very helpful, albeit confused, mechanic, we head to the local market to buy supplies. The more time I spend in Southeast Asia, the more convinced I am that refrigerators are overrated. If you eat fresh, local produce, they really aren't that necessary. And you can't exactly put a live chicken in the fridge either. Having said that, you won't find any of Florida's famously delicious oranges for sale around here. If it's not grown or caught locally, you ain't eating it. We got lucky and chartered this boat for a really good price. It's very fancy, but to be honest, the boat doesn't matter. What matters is the location. Indonesia is one of the best places in the world to chase dogtooth tuna, and we're in one of the best spots in Indonesia, and there's no place on earth I'd rather be. If I could go on any fishing trip in the world, if money and time were no object, this would be it. I'm only telling you all this because I want you to get a sense of how insane it is that I'm so miserable now that I'm finally here. All I can think about is that fish. I keep watching the footage over and over again, and when I'm not replaying it on my phone, I'm replaying it in my head. And the most f***ed up part is, I'm not sure if I feel worse about the fact that I fatally injured this big, beautiful animal, or the fact that I didn't get to take a photo with it. John Steinbeck once wrote that any man who puts his intelligence up against a fish and loses had it coming. Over the next 8 days, we land some amazing fish. And by we, I mean everyone else. I'm not catching shit, which is making me even more miserable. But the other guys are having the time of their f***ing lives. They say that happiness equals reality minus expectations. When I do get opportunities on some really nice fish, I don't take them. My expectations are way too high. Look at this fucking dive. Look at this perfectly good doggy that I ignore. Look at how many fish there are everywhere. I'm literally spearfishing in the middle of a fucking David Attenborough documentary. But what am I doing? I'm ignoring all of these amazing fish, and instead, I'm frantically looking around for the ghost of that tuna that I lost earlier in the week. I'm too thirsty, too desperate. And the fish can smell it on me. They know how badly I want a kill, and they stay the hell away from me because of it. When I finally do see a good-sized doggy, I chase it down like an asshole and then scare it away with a Hail Mary. At At this point, I'm beginning to wonder if I ever even knew how to spearfish in the first place. Maybe I'm a fraud. Maybe I've been delusional all these years. Maybe someone like me has absolutely no business being on a trip like this. Meanwhile, at this point, we have another problem. Too many fish, and too many days left of fishing. And although we're eating sashimi multiple times a day, there's still too much. But luckily, there's no shortage of local fishermen around, happy to help lighten our load.
Hello!
The local kids, on the other hand, are more interested in candy.
Okay. Sama-sama. Selamat minum. Wait, 1 minute. 1 minute. Ada lagi. Suka bang bang? Oh, tidak suka. Oh, okay, bye.
Bye, mister.
Bye. Hati-hati.
Okay, real quick. For some reason, I have a really hard time convincing brands to sponsor my videos. I have no idea why, but anyways, for that reason, I've decided to sponsor this video myself. I've designed these hats, sort of inspired by the classic polo caps, but instead of the polo logo, it's got these different fish on them. Right now, we've got mahi-mahi, GT, yellowfin tuna, and I think by the time you watch this, there'll also be dogtooth tuna available, also moo. Anyways, the design is super simple, super clean. I really like them, and if you do as well, head to aquaticapes.com to check them out. And if you don't, enjoy the rest of the video, and thanks for watching. We have a serious emergency. We're running out of beer. So we stop at the nearest village to stock up. It's far from guaranteed that they even have beer for sale on this island, but it's worth a try. Indonesia's a very young country. They only declared their independence in the mid-1940s. And for the 300 years prior, they were referred to as the Dutch East Indies by the Dutch, who colonized the area and enslaved the locals to work in the spice trade. I'm mentioning this because when we arrive in the village, there's a very friendly old man. He's wearing 2 baseball caps and never stops rolling cigarettes in what looks like dried banana leaves. Apparently, he's so old he remembers the Dutch being here because he says we look just like them. And I'm not so sure that was a compliment, but nonetheless, he couldn't have been friendlier or more hospitable. And as we wait for the beer to be delivered, he hangs out and shares his cigarettes with those of us brave enough to try.
How is it, Dieter?
Strong as hell.
I'm not sure if it's because of the impression that old guy left on me, or because time heals all wounds, but for whatever reason, I left that little island with a new outlook. These trips aren't about completing a murderous checklist of fish species. They're about the journey. And for the final 2 days of the trip, I decide to make a serious effort to keep that in mind. But, let's be honest. Deep down, I still want a f***ing doggy. Today is the second to last day of the trip, and I'm going to enjoy myself. No expectations. It's just another day of spearfishing, no different than any other day back home in Bali. And I'm not going to be picky either. After all, I came all the way here to catch some doggies. And beggars can't be choosers. There's that dopamine rush I've been looking for. And just like that, I got my mojo back. To be fair, it's not really a doggy. It's more of a puppy. In fact, this is easily the smallest dogtooth tuna that I've ever seen in my entire life. But I needed this. Not for sustenance, although I will eat it. I needed this for my mental health. For my ego. I needed to remind myself that I do, in fact, know how to catch a fish. Teddy Roosevelt famously said, "Comparison is the thief of joy." But I can't help but wonder if he ever tried spearing a doggy. Anyways, in the evening, I go to bed early, because tomorrow is the last day of the trip. There's something about not giving a fuck that's extremely attractive. And while that's true for life in general, in spearfishing, it's especially true. And after the past week, I'm painfully aware of this reality. If you want to fish too badly, your body language is more aggressive in the water, which makes the fish nervous and afraid. A few days ago, one of my buddies speared a doggy, which got tangled up on the seafloor about 130 feet deep. I already posted an entire video about retrieving the fish, but long story short, it was a huge pain in the ass, and could have easily resulted in both the fish and my buddy's gear being lost forever. I'm mentioning this because I am now less crazed about finding a big fish, and my body language reflects it. And lo and behold, one swims right up to me. At this point, the fish is making a beeline to the bottom, just like my buddies did, and it easily pulls my big pneumatic floats down with it. On the surface, the fish and I take turns. I yank it up from the bottom, and then it pulls me down underwater. But eventually, it runs out of energy. To be clear, this doggy is big for me. In general, it's still kind of on the small side, but you won't hear me complaining.
Finally!
As far as I can tell, Spearos are the only people who really care about dogtooth tuna. They don't have much of a commercial value, and line fishermen don't seem to be nearly as obsessed with them either. And for those reasons, they're very sustainable to hunt. But the question is, why do Spearos like them so much? And the answer? We like them for the same reason cats like to play with mice before killing and eating them. Of course, we put the fish out of their misery as quickly as possible, whereas cats do exactly the opposite. But the idea is the same. We like the chase. Oh, and by the way, my girlfriend fillets most of the fish I catch. Look at how good at filleting she is.